Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Kevin with Everglades Canine, and we have a new board and train here for 2 weeks. Very excited to work with this dog. This is Theo, the mini Aussie Labradoodle, and his owners have dropped him off for 2 weeks. I'll be working with him. We are going to be working on his basic obedience training, which at a very early puppy age, he also did some obedience training with another organization. Um, some of the things that he's coming in for, besides his obedience training, is going to be his boundary training when he returns home. So we're going to kind of reacclimate him to a better kennel schedule. Um, and upon going home after this 2 week board and train, uh, his owners kind of have expressed some issues they're having with his boundaries, mostly just like stealing shoes, chewing the rug under the bed, just some behaviors that should be definitely able to fix with some proper training, behavior modification, and better guidance. So some of the things about Theo's personality that I'm noticing as he's been here for he hasn't even been here for 24 hours yet. This is his first morning here. He is a little nervous. He is a little shy. He's kind of whimpering right now. Um, he does get scared very easily if fast movements or loud noises happen. He does tend to jump and put up a lot of signs of evasion. So whenever I have a dog that is a little more sensitive to its surroundings, like he's hyper focused, you can even see in his body language right now, he's just looking all around. He's unsure of his surroundings. He really has a flight sense when things start happening that he kind of just wants to get out of the way. And there's a couple things that I think of when I get a dog that's a little more submissive like this or a little scared. The first thing that I really think of is we really want to hammer in some good marker training and reward training, right? Everything we do with Theo needs to lead to success. Okay. And I like to do that through obedience training. All right. So, we're really going to tackle the place command. We're also really going to tackle recall, and we're going to make sure that he's successful in those commands. And if he doesn't know what to do, I'm going to show him how to do those commands, leading to a reward. Okay? So, that is one way we build confidence in dogs is we set them up for success in our training. And if you don't know how to do that, that's where I recommend hiring a professional, because every moment you have with the dog, whether it's a formal training session or not, does really come down to some sort of training, bonding, and that's all important in the role of the dog gaining more confidence, especially if your dog is a little nervous. Okay, because we do want him to break through, and we don't want him to be so nervous about everything. All right. So I am going to plan on using food for him as a reward. Now, I gave him a little bit of food this morning. I noticed he didn't eat that. I want to think it's because he might be a little nervous. Uh, and so basically, what I'm gonna do is I'm probably from here on out, I'm going to uh, I will continue to put a little food in his kennel. I do want to make sure that he does have access to a little bit of food, but I'm talking just like a little bit, just a tiny little handful in the morning. But for the most part, I think I'm going to start offering him only food by my hand. Okay. And that's another way to help bond with your dog, is simply just feed them by hand more. I know there's a lot of really good trainers out there that they swear on not using food, And you don't want to fall into bribery with your dog, having to bribe him for everything. Oh, get out under the bed. Here's a treat, right? But we do want to establish a reward or a payment system. And over time, you won't have to use all the food once you've bonded properly with your dog. But for my purposes, for trying to do things in 2 weeks, which isn't really that long of a time, I do like to make myself more valuable in every situation. And it's really not the food that makes me valuable, it's his hunger levels. Okay, so basically what I do is I only give a little bit of food in a bowl or in his kennel, and then he will have the chance to earn food from me directly. Okay, so that's kind of the whole idea behind reward training and food training, is that we work with the dog and the dog gets rewarded for food. We're not bribing the dog to do things, but we are rewarding the dog. Don't eat that. For stuff like that. Now, as far as his temperament goes, he's so gentle and sweet. I do love this dog a lot. Um, but he is nervous. So this means when I get a dog that's this nervous, I consider myself a balanced trainer. So obviously, I'm giving rewards. I'm also doing corrections. Uh, I I will approach his corrections appropriately. Okay. When you have a dog that's a little nervous versus a dog that's extremely confident and trying to bulldoze you, the corrections are going to be different. Okay. So as we navigate corrections with this dog, I'm going to keep in mind that Theo is already a little nervous and I don't want to overcorrect him, uh, making him either afraid of me or afraid of the situation or afraid of the training session. So, there's really no one way that we should be training every dog. Every dog is a little different. Every dog has the same overall characteristics of a canine, but each dog has individual personality. So when I am analyzing Theo's individual personality, I'm taking into account that he's already a little nervous, possibly overstimulated, and we're just going to exercise our patience. And my corrections probably will not have to be like a physical leash pop or anything. I might just start with spatial pressure. However, he does need some sort of correction because he's breaking boundaries in his house where he lives. His parents are telling me that, he's on the couch at times. They don't want him on the couch. He's under the bed chewing the rug when they're trying to relax. So these are all things that we want to approach with the proper guidance and accountability if he decides to overstep his boundaries in the house. and and that's all just a part of canine ownership. Okay, is you as the canine owner establishing boundaries in the house so your dog knows who's in charge, A, which are the owners, right? And B, when the dog really understands its hierarchy inside the house, that makes training so much easier for the dog because they're already in the position of following you and not indirectly being the leader of the house. Okay. And honestly, for the most part, 90% of my clients that are struggling or have struggled with their dogs, they already tell me, Kevin, my dog runs the house. The dog's on the furniture, sleeps in my bed, eats food right off of the table, and so my job is to come in and really help them establish those boundaries. All right. Now, the first thing that I do with every dog is an exercise on what I call loading the marker. Okay, so marker training is what what we do with every single dog, what most animal professionals do with their dogs, right? It's an association based training that's mostly utilizing positive reinforcement, right? So meaning that I'm going to add something to reinforce to reinforce the behavior, right? Positive as in like I'm going to add something. And basically my positive reinforcement is going to be food. Now, I noticed he didn't eat this morning. I'm going to try to feed him by hand. We're going to see how food motivated he is right now. If he doesn't take food, that's okay. I might just start marking and moving, and his positive reinforcement will be my body movement, my inviting tones, and we might be able to go from there. And he does know some obedience, so I'm going to go ahead and try to demonstrate what he knows. So let's just see. I'm not going to mark anything. I'm just going to see if he'll take a little food from me. Now it's important that it's in, oh, there he goes. Okay. Good boy. It's important when you're training with your dog that you use the leash. Okay. Out of anything, if you're not using food or marker training or anything, the most important thing that you can use is the leash. Okay, this is our most important training tool of all time. And yes, there's more pressure products on the market like prong collars and e-collars, which I love and that are fantastic. And I use those for certain dogs or certain owners. But no matter what, a leash around the neck is what we like to use. Now I know his owners say that they use a harness when they walk their dogs. And I really like Theo's owner's mentality for walking. They use a harness because, there's a little bit of pulling going on and they don't want to hurt Theo's neck, which is pretty much like 99% of cases when people use a harness is that their dog is pulling and choking itself. And what we want to do is um, I do a lot of pressure work, so I need something around the neck. And really, what we want to do is we want to take our time with the walk and make sure the dog is walking properly, so we can continue to give leash guidance around the neck. Now, his owners have informed me. They say, "Okay, Kevin, when we go for a walk, the walk is really for us. Of course, it's good to get the dogs out and exercise, but we as the humans want to." Walk for a while and get a good exercise, which I really love that mentality because as you're dog training, um, you do want to think of you're training this dog to make your life better ultimately. Okay. So we want our dogs to behave and be well. So ultimately it makes our lives easier. And that is a good way to think about it. A lot of people say, oh, well, my dog doesn't like this or my dog doesn't like that. It's like, uh, I have so many examples of my dog doesn't like the kennel or my dog doesn't like the car, so we don't do any of that. And then your life kind of becomes an inconvenience, right? Because you have to do these other things because you think your dog doesn't like it. I am more towards of the side of it doesn't really matter what my dog likes or not, as long as it's not harming the dog, right? It doesn't really matter what my dog likes if it's safe for my dog, if it's what I need to do to get through what I have to do in the day, then I'm going to make my dog do it. And I really do love that mentality because I think it helps people get into the leadership position. So many times I've seen owners really just cater to their animal out of love, right? They're catering out of love, but sometimes it has a negative impact on the relationship, and the dog just ends up owning you, right? So, what we want to do is we want to stay in the mentality that the training will benefit the dog, but ultimately the training is to make our lives easier. We need our dogs. We need our dogs to listen to us. When Theo goes under the bed while it's just before bedtime and his owners have to get out of bed and get a broom and push him out from underneath the bed, right? That's not a convenience to their life, especially if he's not listening. It's one thing if he goes under the bed and they're able to just lie in bed and go, Theo, ouch, and he comes out of the bed, but that's not really the case. So we really do want to establish some clear communication because at the end of the day, we do want to make our lives easy with our dogs, right? And if it just comes down to companionship training, we want our dogs to listen on a verbal cue. So he is taking a little bit of food. He doesn't really know how to lure that well. I am presenting and he is coming to. So we want to teach him how to lure. Yes. There we go. Now I'm going to start marking with my reward marker, which is yes. I'm going to say that and then I'm just going to feed him. I want him to associate that when I say yes, he knows that his job for the moment is done, right? We're marking his behavior and it'll get more complex, but right now I need to teach him what yes means. Basically, as of now, since he's so green, which means that he doesn't really, I'm going to say that he doesn't really know much. His owner was having him do commands, and he definitely knows a good handful of commands. But with every dog, I always start with from scratch to show you guys what I'm doing. Yes. So it's also really important when I'm loading this marker that if he looks and makes direct eye contact with me, I want to mark that. Yes. There we go. There's a little pep in his step. That's what I like to see. Yesterday or last night, they dropped him off in the afternoon. He was so shy. He was kind of scampering all around the yard trying to evade. This morning, I took him out. He seemed like he was a little happier. He was running around a little bit. And so I think he's opening up a little bit. And I just love to see that, you know. It definitely lets me know that the dog can have good growth. There we go. Let him chew. Let's even try a recall command, okay? So I do, while I'm loading this marker, I do like to introduce recall. Notice I have the leash. So I'm just going to say, Theo, come. And if he looks, even if he looks at me, I'm going to mark yes, and I'm going to move my body and feed and reward him. Theo, come. Yes. Oh, good. So that's kind of interesting to talk about because, you know, I want to make sure that people are doing the recall exercise right. Even in you have the leash so you can get the dog to come to you no matter what, but even in the beginning phases, if the dog just responds by looking at me when I say his name and give a command, I will mark yes, and notice I'm backing up. I want him to kind of chase me a little bit. That is a clear sign that I am ready to give him some sort of reward. Okay, so a lot of people will just stand there and, you know, they'll say, "Dog, come," and the dog looks at them and the person just stands there. I think you have better success when the dog looks at you if you actually create some movement. So he's looking at some birds over here. I'm loading food. All right. I'm going to say his name. I'm going to say the recall command. If he looks at me, then I'm going to start moving and I'm going to entice a recall response. Theo, come. Yes, there we go. And even then, he started recalling right away. All right. So we all know that recall is the most important command. We're going to do that daily with every dog with the leash. Yes. Now we just say yes and reward. No recall command. Yes. And when we're loading this marker, yes. We just want to say the word whether he's looking or not and direct with the leash. Yes. See how when I says it, he perks up? Good boy. All right. And I'm also not gonna say yes while there's tension on the leash. Okay, because I want to start breaking him of constantly having tension on the leash. Yes. There we go. He heard the little treat bag, which is okay. We're just working it. All right. And this is what we're going to do today. All right. Dog training is all about baby steps. We're just going to be loading the marker. Yes. Good boy. And this is so just loading this marker, just saying yes and moving around and having the dog feed, this builds good engagement. This is basically when I have dogs that are reactive. Yes. When I have dogs that are reactive and they, let's say they want to like lunge at other dogs. Yes. You know, I will take them to safe places on leash. Typically it'll be like outside of a dog park and I'll hang out a little far away from the dog park where the dog can see other dogs and I'll just try to load this marker. Yes, because we want to start building more engagement with our dogs. You have to condition your dog's attention to you. Yes. And you do that through this exercise, and then we slowly add in more obedience commands. All right. And I don't want you guys out there to overthink this. Yes. I'm basically just saying yes, and I am rewarding. And we do this in so many situations. You know, an idea of what we want to do in dog training is we want to socialize our dogs. Most people think that socialization is I bring my dog to the dog park and I let my dog run around with the other dogs, and my dog is friendly with other dogs. It's great that your dog's friendly with other dogs, but that's not true socialization. Or, you know, my dog loves other people, so he runs up to other people and he licks them, right? That's not true socialization, right? We define true socialization as the dog being neutral in every situation. All right. So your dog doesn't really get overly excited for other dogs or other humans. And when we socialize a dog, the dog is with the owner or the handler, ready to listen. Yes. There we go. Good boy. Oh my goodness, his fur and my jungle-ish yard. I'm gonna be picking out a lot of sticks and leaves and twigs and stems from his fur. I can already tell. I think his tail already has some sticks in it that I got to pick out. So, you know, grooming is a part of training, guys. I don't care what anybody says. Yes. Good. I want to give it up. Shout out to all my groomers out there. You do so much for these dogs. And my groomers really know. They've worked with dogs that try to bite them. And, you know, my really good groomers that have patience, that are kind with the dog, they know how to move with the dog. And I've seen groomers get aggressive dogs to be so docile. And so big shout out to my groomers out there. Keep up the good work. Yes. There we go. We're just going to continue this. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We're just going to be loading the marker. The one thing that I'm trying to get, so my next step is, see how he comes to me when I say yes? Yes. But then he kind of walks away immediately, right? Now look at him. Boom. He wants to go away. So the goal that I'm trying to get to within today and tomorrow is I want him to take food, and I want him to, yes, I want him to stay with me. I want him to keep looking at me. All right. So he also, you know, he got here yesterday, so he might not be as hungry. Yes, there we go. And it's already happening. He's kind of circling back and coming back to me now. So he's just looking. There we go. So my goal with the marker loading is, there we go. This is what I want. Oh, see, even I turned the wrong way and he's like, oh, I got to get out of here. So I did a quick spin and he didn't like it. So he ran, and that's what we're trying to break. Let's see what he knows. Sit. Yes. There we go. Mark and reward. So he does know sit. Let's see if he knows down. Theo, down. Try to give a little hand signal. Okay. So I think he does down. His Theo's mom said that he does down for the dad, but sometimes not for the mom. Let's just see if we can when we're almost done here. Yes. The one thing about training, okay, so he's evading food. So at this point, I'm probably just going to end the session because we got some good reps. I'm going to bring him out a little bit later. And my process is basically kennel room with the AC. Then he comes out. We do something similar like this, maybe like 15 minutes of training, really hyper focused on engagement with me. And then typically I will, after the training session is done, I go all done. And then I typically give them, you know, like 20 minutes to roam around. I might walk them on leash a little bit. And then they go back in the kennel. and then at an appropriate time, they come back out, and we repeat this process day in, day out. Okay, so if you're a working family out there, I mean, do kennel training, cycle them in and out of the kennel. When they come out of the kennel, to make sure your schedule is free to just hyper focus on, a specific task, whether that's sit, down, place, come, or just loading the marker. Or and then after that, after you've had a good session on leash, you can let the leash dangle and then work on a little bit of boundary training in the house. Let them free roam and follow them and kick them out of here, kick them out of the room, correct them before they steal the shoe. And then when that's all done, we can reward the dog and we politely put them back in their kennel. And that is looking like a good session. All right. Okay, you guys, good boy. I like when you check in. So you guys stay tuned if you want to see more with Theo. If you have any comments, just leave them down below. I'm pretty good at answering. Sometimes I don't really get to it until a little later. But uh, always remember, happy training, and we'll see you on the next video. Good boy. Let's go.